Good morning, everyone. Guys, am I audible? Hello, am I
Yes,
audible?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, it's 11:26, so we have another 4 minutes to go. We'll start the class once a few people join, and after 11:30 itself. Rangoli, you have joined twice.
No, sir, I left. So there is only one device connected now.
Because I'm seeing two images of yours.
Yes, sir, I actually had logged in laptop also and phone also.
So maybe you did not log out from the laptop, I guess.
So now I did.
Okay, fine, no problem. Doesn't matter.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Rohan, please change your name. Yeah. You might be a rock star, but during the classes, you are Rohan Patil.
Yeah.
Guys, are the students joining, or I guess the classes have happened regularly from the morning?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you are muted.
Sorry. Okay, can everybody come in the video mode for 2 minutes? Okay, guys, 13 students have joined, so I will not wait 14 students. We'll get started as I don't want to waste your time. Okay. In the previous class, we have started with merchant banking. We completed part of merchant banking. Frankly, guys, tell me, are you making notes of whatever has been taught? Are you writing it down, or how are you recording it? Ashwini, are
So
you writing it down?
I'm writing the points.
Okay, great. Rohan?
So I'm writing the points and the explanation what you tell in the class that I'm noting down.
Okay, great. Yutika?
So I'm taking pictures of the slides.
Okay, great. Whatever it is, but make sure that you prepare notes later at least. Okay, because pictures, you may go on taking pictures of all the classes, and it may not be in a particular sequence. So later compiling and all becomes a problem. So it's better to write it down at the end of the day.
Okay, sir.
Uh, Zora, you've opted for finance. You've changed your special. Oh, she's gone. Okay, Narayan, are you taking down notes?
Sir, I take notes from Rohin and make short notes of that.
Rohan, stop giving notes to others. Okay, let them write their own notes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
So it's okay now, sir, to give them.
it's okay, but then it would be like a movie for them. They just keep on watching me because my video is on. They keep on watching me, and they I don't know whether they have chips or coke. They
Sir,
are
I
throwing.
take screenshot of those slides, sir.
Then why do you take notes from Rohan?
Sir, it will be detailed version, sir.
Okay, okay, okay. What about Sufyan?
Sir, I take from Narayan.
Very good. So the source, there is only one source, and from there the branches have grown, right? Rohan, if Sufyan Narayan
Yes.
score less, then it is your responsibility. Yeah?
No, sir, they will score more, sir.
They will score more, is it? Okay.
Yes, yes, sir.
So you have taken their responsibility, right? And
No,
how
no,
many
sir.
such
They have to
students?
study.
And how many such students are
There are
connected?
many, sir.
How many such
There are
students are
many,
there
sir.
in the network?
Many, sir. Many branches.
Very good. So do one thing. From tomorrow, you only attend the class, give the attendance for all the students, and you give notes to them.
No, 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 sir. No, sir.
Okay. I'll outsource my job to you.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay.
I'm just copying yours, sir. Whatever you say, I do that, sir.
And you send it across to everybody else, right? Okay, fine. Doesn't matter. Okay, it's all about group work. I'm just joking about it, but make sure that at least when anyone passes notes, you write it down. You just don't take a photocopy or you don't click a photo and keep it. At least have that habit of writing, because one or the other day you're going to write your final exams. So don't be under that impression ki a second semester you did not write, so third semester also it will just pass without exams, and even the fourth semester it cannot happen. And suddenly if you are made to write 100 marks paper, you imagine what will happen after 8 months of gap. Suddenly you have to write 100 marks paper. It is very difficult, guys. So keep that habit of writing. I'm telling you because we have faced this issue, because when we started doing our research, we had to write papers, and after 6 7 years we had to write 100 marks paper, which was very very difficult for us. And it will happen to you also, so keep that habit of writing. Okay, so whatever notes are provided to you, whatever maybe you take a screenshot or whatever it is, make it a point that you prepare a notebook and write down all the points. It may not be too much, okay, it may be hardly 1 or 2 pages for each class. In some of the classes, yes, it may be 6 7 pages, if slides are too many or there is too much on the slides. But the most of at least my subjects, I don't think whatever I teach will go to more than 2 pages every class. Okay, so please make it a habit to write. Okay, and I'll be creating an email ID, okay, on which you have to send your assignments now. Whatever assignments I've given so far, please scan it. Okay, if there are 3 assignments given, then make 3 different files. Okay, I'm making it very clear. If there are 3 assignments, suppose there are 3 assignments given, whatever questions, everything I had given you. Okay, I don't remember the numbers. Suppose there were 3 assignments given, then you have to make 3 different files, but send only one mail. Send only one mail which has all the 3 files. Is it clear? So shortly by afternoon or after this class, immediately I'll create an email ID for banking, and you have to send all the banking assignments on that email ID itself. Do not send it on my personal ID, because for me monitoring it would be very easy if you send it to one particular dedicated ID. Okay, in the similarly, for HR also I'll be making another ID for HR analytics, and HR analytics assignments you have to submit it there. So I'll be talking about that in the HR class itself. Okay, yes. So now good to see around 30 people joining, 29 people joining this class today. Okay, hope this continues till the end of the online classes. Okay, so I'll share the screen now and we'll start the class without any further delay. Okay, and yes, there was a query that was raised yesterday. I guess Mrunali is here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mrunali and Rashmi. Okay, whatever you had told me yesterday about the classes not conducted on time, or it has not been informed, so you tend to miss classes. It has been informed. There was a point which was taken in the meeting yesterday, and it has been informed to all the faculties that they have to conduct the classes in time. And if there is some delay due to administrative work or any other work, maybe network issues, whatever it is, the faculty would inform you that there would be a delay, or he is either conducting classes after 10 minutes, after 15 minutes, or the class would be cancelled. Now, is it
Yes,
okay?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Rashmi. Somebody.
So I said yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So that problem is solved, and immediately yesterday, I guess Mahesh Gowda sir also had put a message saying that he is not going to take the class because he had ISO meeting. Okay. So such informations would be coming to you in case the class would be delayed or the class would be cancelled. Is it clear? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so we'll just start with the class now. Okay. Just confirm if you can see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now small kids are also watching my, attending my classes, is it? Fine. Okay. Jokes apart, let's start with the next part. Okay. Okay, in the previous class, if you remember, we had done this particular slide where we discussed who are the various intermediaries that are involved in a issue, like starting from a merchant banker, okay, to who are underwriters, who are the brokers, then who are the bankers to the issue, debenture trustee, registrar, portfolio managers. Okay, so I hope you're clear with these intermediaries. Any doubts in 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 intermediaries? Okay, basically till this part we have the intermediaries, right? Till this, we have the intermediaries. So are you clear with all these 7? That is merchant banker, underwriters, brokers, bankers to the issue, debenture trustee, registrar to the issue or transfer and share transfer agent, and portfolio managers. Any doubts in any of these? If you are comfortable, if you are clear with that, then please give a thumbs up so that I can continue with the next part. Guys, you are clear? Okay, great. Fine. So let's start with the next part, that is the primary activities or primary market organizations and activities and procedures. Okay. So in the primary market, what are the various activities and procedures that are followed when you are going for an issue? Okay. Later we'll go for pre-issue and post-issue management. This was one part which I just skipped from my mind yesterday. So what is this primary market organization activities and procedures? These are the various activities that are involved when you're going for an issue management. Okay, so let's start with one by one as to what are the various activities that are there in issue management. So first one is the eligibility norms. Now what does this eligibility norms is? If you want to go for an IPO, if you want to go for issuing of securities to the general public, there are certain norms that you need to follow. Okay, for example, you need to I'll just give you one or two examples, okay, because there are lots of norms and you have to just remember certain things, that there are certain norms that you have to follow. Okay, you need not you are not a company secretary to know all the norms. Okay, the person who is a company secretary would be remembering all the norms. For you it is not required. You have to just remember all these procedures, who all are involved and what are the various procedures. That's more than enough for you. Okay, so eligibility norms, basically when we start with eligibility norms, the first norm is basically the company needs to be profitable. Okay, in the last 5 years, okay, at least for let's say 3 years, 3 years in the last 5 years, the company should have distributable profits. Okay, that is one norm. Okay, then second norm is it has to issue prospectus. Okay, I'll just read out one norm for you. Okay, I'm just reading this. Okay, in case of public issue, okay, by companies as well as any type of securities by listed company through a right issue in excess of 50 lakhs, a draft prospectus or letter of offer should be filed with the SEBI through a merchant banker at least 30 days prior to filing it with the registrar of companies. Okay, so if a company, what does this means is, if a company wants to go for issue of shares through right issue, let's say rights issue is, I have already told you what is this rights issue. That is the issue of shares to the existing shareholders. And if this rights issue is more than 50 lakhs, then a prospectus has to be sent to SEBI 30 days prior to the issue, prior to submitting it to the registrar of companies. We call it as ROCs. Okay, so that is one condition that you have to follow. Second condition is about the profits that I have told you. Okay, it should be a profitable company and then only they can go for an IPO. So there are lots of such eligibility norms that the company has to adhere to if they want to go for an IPO or issue of shares to the general publics. Okay, the next one is, okay, how do we issue the shares? Okay, now issue the shares is done through IPOs or offer for sale by unlisted companies. Okay, IPOs means, we have already discussed, IPO is initial public offering, right? So initial public offering means whenever you are issuing the shares for the first time to the general public, then it is called as initial public offering, or also known as offer for sale by unlisted or offer for sale by unlisted companies. Okay, so again, when you go for an IPO, as I said, there are lots of eligibility norms. One is your profit, another is your share capital, the share capital which is required. Then there is a particular concept called as QIB. Okay, it is called as QIB, that is called as qualified institutional buyers. Okay, qualified institutional buyers. Okay, please make a note of it. Okay, they are called as qualified institutional buyers. Now, who are these qualified institutional buyers? They may be banks, they may be public financial institutions, they may be mutual funds, they may be financial intermediaries, or your Federation of Indian Industries. Okay, then they may be venture capital funding. Then your SIDCO, that is the Small Industrial Development Corporation. Okay, or any of these organizations can be a qualified institutional buyer. Now, what is this qualified institutional buyer is? Okay, they are qualified to buy the shares of the company. Okay, so whenever you go for an IPO, you basically divide your shares into shares to be issued to the general public and shares to be issued to QIBs, that is qualified institutional buyers. So these qualified institutional buyers will buy the shares of your company when you're going for an IPO. Okay, so you have to decide on that. Then public issue by listed companies. Okay, public issue by listed companies means, remember, it is second time issue. Okay, they are already listed, that means they have already issued their shares to the general public. Now they are issuing it once again. Okay, so for them there are lots of rules and regulations that they need to follow. Okay, if they are going for rights issue, then I have already discussed about the right issue. They have to issue prospectus, they have to submit the documents. There are lots of procedures that they have to follow. So the first thing that they have to adhere to is the eligibility norms. They have to check whether they are eligible to go for an IPO, whether they are eligible to go for a rights issue, and whether they are eligible to go for a private placement or the successive issues that they go for. Okay, second is pricing. Now, pricing means what? Okay, in pricing there are three types basically. Okay, three types we can say. First one is differential pricing. Okay, now differential pricing means what? Price would be different for different parties. Like for rights issue, now rights issues is done to the existing shareholders, so the price for them would be different. Price for the general public or the general investor would be different. Price for the qualified institutional buyers would be completely different. Okay, so there will be differential pricing which would be adopted. That is one thing, that is pricing of the issues. Second is price band. Okay, none of the companies will give you exact price like 32 rupees or 35 rupees or 38 rupees. No, they will say from 32 to 35 is the price band, and you have to quote between these price band itself. Okay, so basically right now if you go to the internet and check, okay, Equitas Small Finance Bank, heard about, I hope you have heard about this Equitas Small Finance Bank. Okay, they are coming up with an issue, public issue, okay, an IPO. Okay, and their price band is between, as I said, 32 to 34 something. I don't distinctly remember it, but yes, it is between, it is in 30s. Okay, 34 to 38 or 32 to 34, that is what the price band is. Okay, so they decide on the price band. Okay, next one is denomination of shares, means how much would be the value per share or how many number of shares would be there. Okay, all these things would be decided in the pricing of the issues. Okay, now there is something called as book building process. Okay, which I'll be dealing over here. Okay, this I'll be dealing, it's a part of the pricing itself, so but I'll be dealing it later. So let's not bother ourselves with what is that right now. Okay, next one is promoters contribution and lock-in. Okay, so whenever you go for an issue, okay, there is something called as promoters contribution. Promoters are the people who hold that company. Okay, the company belongs to that those people, that is the promoters. Okay, so these promoters basically have to invest, or they have to contribute before the issue happens. Okay, so there is certain percentage of the contribution that has to be done by the promoters itself. Okay, for example, let's say for unlisted company, around 20% of the total capital post issue total capital, out of that at least 20% should be the contribution by the promoter. So accordingly, for public issue, public offer of unlisted company, it is separate. Public offer of listed company, it is separate. Okay, then for composite issue, different types of issues, the percentage differs, but normally it is 20% of the post issue capitalization. Now, what is the meaning of post issue capitalization is, understand, Suppose your price band, so let's take this example of Equitas Finance itself. Okay, when I talk about Equitas Finance, the price band is, let's say, 32 to 34 rupees. That means maximum 34 rupees is the price band. And total number of shares, let's say, totally amount to around 14,005, or let's assume 15,000 rupees. Okay. So I have invested 15,000 rupees. So if you do the calculation, and let me do that calculation, it is 15,000 divided by 35. So I'll get around 430 shares. Okay, I'm talking about approximately. Okay, now these 430 shares that I'm getting per issue, okay, into what would be the price of listing. Now the shares would not be listed at 32. That is an application money. Okay, that is the money that you have to pay to get the shares. Now shares will not be issued to everyone. Okay, it is done on lottery basis, or there are lots of ways to allot shares to different people. Okay, so maybe the price is 35 and the listing happens at 50 rupees. Okay, now when the listing happens at 50 rupees, okay, let's say total number of shares issued were 1 lakh. 1 lakh shares were issued and per share was listed at 50 rupees. So 50 into 1 lakh comes to 50 lakhs. Am I right?
So
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So 50 rupees per share was the issue, was the shares at which the price at which they were listed. Okay. And total number of shares issued is 1 lakh shares. So 1 lakh into 50 is 50 lakhs. Okay. Now out of this 50 lakhs, 20% should be the contribution of the promoters. Now 20% of 50 lakhs comes to 10 lakhs. So minimum 10 lakhs should be the promoter's contribution. Okay, that is what promoter's contribution is. Okay, and lock-in requirements is basically for how much period you need to keep that funds, that you keep those funds locked in into the company. You cannot just immediately after the issue, you cannot just take it away. Okay, you have to keep it for certain period of time. Okay, so there is something called as lock-in period. So you invest money and you keep it for certain definite period of time. Before the expiry of that time, you cannot withdraw your money. So that is called as lock-in period. Okay, so that is what promoters contribution and lock-in is. So promoters have to contribute at least 20% in most of the cases, okay, of the post issue capital, and they have to keep it for a certain period of time which is pre-decided. Okay, next one is issue advertisement. Now issue advertisement means what? Now people have to subscribe for your issue. You go for an issue, but people need to subscribe for the issue. Now how will the people come to know about it? They will come to know about it through pamphlets, through advertisements in the television, through newspaper ads, through prospectors, through your brochures. You might use any medium of advertisement, okay, to basically advertise your issue so that you get maximum of uh, subscribers, or you get maximum subscription for your issue. Okay, so right now when we hear about IPOs, we say it is oversubscribed, 1.5 times oversubscribed, 2 times oversubscribed, 3 times oversubscribed. Okay, means what? That means the total number of requirement, okay, and the total subscription, total subscription is more than what is actually required. You required only, let's say, 1 lakh shares, but there are people who have the people started subscribing and the total number of shares subscribed are more than, let's say, 2 lakh. That means it is subscribed double, right? So that is what subscription is. So how does this happen? This happens through aggressive advertisement. So you have to advertise your issue. Next one is book building process. Now what is this book building process is? Okay, here basically you try to find out the price of your shares. Okay, now how do you find out the price of the shares? Here is, okay, uh, excuse me. Okay, you try to find out the demand for your shares. Okay, it's a you can use any method for demand forecasting, okay, and find out the price for your share. Thus you try to understand, okay, people would be ready to buy your shares at this particular price. So you're building your book building, okay, you're building that price. Okay, so once you build that price and then you finally decide, okay, this should be the price of my shares, that is called as book building process. Okay, now there are conditions for book building process, like 75% through book building process, 75 remaining 25% through prospectors, All these things happen. Okay, so that is what book building process is. Basically, to find out the price of your shares, you try to find out the demand, and on the basis of the demand for the shares, you decide on the price. Okay, so that is what book building process is. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll just give you the definition if it is available. I don't think the definition, a proper definition is available, but still I'll just try to find out one definition for a book building process if I can get one. Okay, yeah, okay, I'll just read out the definition for you. Okay, this is just for your understanding, otherwise I've made it very clear as to what is book building process. Okay, so just listen to me carefully. Book building means a process by which a demand for the securities proposed to be issued by a body of corporate is elicited. Elicited is found out. Okay, and built up, and the price for such securities is assessed. So basically what they do, they try to find out the price for the issue, or price for the shares that they are supposed to issue. That is what book building process talks about. Okay, now in book building process, uh, it is issue of shares through book building process. Maybe 75% of your total issue would be through book building process. The remaining would be through offer through prospectus, or through book building process itself. Okay, so it depends, but basically book building is finding out the price of the shares through understanding the demand for the shares. Okay, so it is demand and price, how you relate it. Okay, next comes your green shoe option. Okay, now a green shoe option, can somebody tell me any idea about green shoe option? Anyone who have heard about it, especially if Rohit or Swapnil can pitch in. Green shoe option. Okay,
So
fine.
is it over allotment?
Sorry.
So over allotment?
Very nice, very nice.
Over allotment, sir.
Yes, yes, very good, very good. Yes, it is over allotment. So green shoe option basically is, okay, suppose as I said, okay, you want to issue totally, let's say 1 lakh shares, but there are people who have subscribed for 2 lakh shares. Okay, now whatever you are issuing above 1 lakh, suppose 1 lakh was done, and then you want to stabilize the price, so you issue more shares than 1 lakh shares. Now how do you issue that? The question would be, sir, how can I do that, because I have only 1 lakh shares? How can I issue more than 1 lakh shares? Okay, from now how do you do that is, you borrow the shares. There is someone called as a stabilizing agent. Okay, SA, stabilizing agent. Okay, STABILISHING, stabilizing agent. Okay, who borrows the shares from the promoters, because promoters have already contributed their shares, right? So what does this stabilizing agent does? He borrows shares from the promoters and issue it to the general public. So apart from that 1 lakh shares, out of which 20% was already promoters contribution, so remaining was 40,000 shares. So sorry, 1 lakh, 20% is 20 lakhs, so 20,000, so remaining is 80,000. So these 80,000 shares were issued. Over these 80,000, let's say another 10,000 were issued to the general public itself. Now where did this 10,000 shares come? They came from the promoters contribution. It was borrowed from the promoters contribution and given it to the general public. That is called as a green shoe option. Okay, the definition goes like this. Okay, green shoe option means an option of allocating shares in excess of shares included in the public issue. Okay, and operating a post listing price stabilizing mechanism by through a stabilizing agent. Okay, so after the issue is done, okay, to stabilize the price of the issue, what you do, you go for a green shoe option, where you issue shares more than the what is more than the issued more than the shares which were publicly issued. Okay, which were included in the public issue. Okay, so I'll just repeat the example once again. Totally, let's say 10 lakh shares is what 1 lakh shares is what you have. 20% goes to the promoters contribution. That means 20,000 goes to the promoters contribution. Remaining is 80,000 shares that you have. So 80,000 shares would be issued to the general public. Now your issue was oversubscribed. Let's say there were around 2 lakh people who subscribed, so 2 lakh shares had to be issued, but you cannot do that because you have only 80,000 shares. So what you do, instead of issuing just 80,000, you issue 10,000 more shares. Now where does this 10,000 come? These 10,000 come from the promoter's contribution. So the stabilizing agent borrows shares from the promoter's contribution and issues it to the general public. Okay, so that is called as a green shoe option, and this option is adopted for stabilizing the price, because whenever it is oversubscribed and the listing happens, okay, normally the price jumps up. Okay, now you want to stabilize the price, so you issue shares in the form of green shoe option. So are you clear with what is this green shoe option? Any doubts in this green shoe option? If you're clear, please give a thumbs up, guys. Okay, great, fine. So next comes, I'll just touch upon this particular point, that is your depository receipt, and then in the next class I'll be continuing with EIPO, preferential issues, and so on. Okay, because we just are left with 2 minutes. Okay, so what is this Indian depository receipts? Okay, there are depository receipts. We have GDRs, ADRs, IDRs, etc. ADR stands for American Depository Receipt. GDR stands for Global Depository Receipt, and IDR stands for Indian Depository Receipt. Now, what is this depository receipt? Basically, depository receipt is uh, these are the receipts which are basically given to the foreign companies. Okay, the companies which are incorporated outside India. I'm talking about IDRs, Indian Depository Receipt. Okay, and these companies want to basically collect capital from Indian market. Okay, so what do? Is they deposit their shares. Let's say Apple. Okay, let's take a hypothetical example. I'm not giving you an exact practical example, but Apple wants to issue its shares in India. Now Apple cannot do that because Apple is incorporated in US. So Apple cannot directly issue shares on BSE or NSE. It is not possible. Okay, so what does Apple do? Maybe Apple deposits around, let's say, 10 lakh shares, Apple's 10 lakh shares to Indian depositories. Okay, now Indian depositories will issue something called as Indian Depository Receipt. Okay, so group of shares, let's say group of 10 shares of Apple becomes one receipt. Okay, again I'm clarifying, it's an hypothetical example, and those receipts are given to the general public. Whatever amount is collected is sent to Apple. So that is how uh, Indian Depository Receipt works. In the similar way, GDRs and ADRs work. Okay, I'll go into details of this in the next class because we are falling short of time.